All right, let's jump right into this. We're doing a deep dive today into something people are calling the AI era trap. Uh, what exactly is that? Well, it seems to be this really seductive idea going around that AI is the ultimate shortcut. Easy wealth, effortless results, basically peak productivity without all the usual grind. But the sources we're looking at today, especially this pretty insightful YouTube transcript from a business coach, plus several articles, they suggest there are some, well, significant hidden costs, some real dangers maybe hiding under that shiny surface. So our mission for this session is really to pull out the key insights from all this material. We want to figure out what real lasting value looks like now with AI everywhere, and crucially, how we can avoid falling into these traps everyone's talking about.
Exactly. I mean, you really can't escape the AI conversation these days, can you? It's just
Yeah.
everywhere, and it's full of these huge promises. But these sources, they offer a really important counterpoint. They challenge that assumption that just, using AI automatically leads to success. They really make us look closer at how people are actually using it and maybe why that common approach might be setting them up for, well, disappointment or even failure, not the success they think they're chasing.
Right. And that really brings us to the core question these sources seem to be wrestling with. Is AI genuinely making things easier in a way that builds lasting value? Or is this constant push for easy actually chipping away at something vital, something about, human skill, critical thinking? What makes a business actually resilient? Okay, let's really unpack this. So maybe start with the initial appeal. The sources paint a picture of AI being incredibly attractive, right? It comes along promising amazing productivity boosts, creative superpowers, just making everything easier. It really feels like a magic wand, a way to slash the amount of actual work you need to do. I mean, how often you hear people ask, how can AI do less for me?
And that desire, that pull towards the easiest path, this is just the human nature, isn't it? We're wired that way. The trap itself is this pervasive belief, kind of fueled by all the hype, that AI isn't just a tool, but a full-on substitute.
Hmm.
A substitute for deep thinking, for developing real skill, and that is somehow this automatic ticket to easy money. It really plays on that natural desire for efficiency, for the path of least resistance.
Yeah, it makes me think of that analogy one of the sources use. It's like using a calculator for all your math all the time. Sure, you get the answer fast, but you never really learn the underlying process, like the why behind it.
Exactly.
And maybe that reliance is okay if you're, say, an established business owner who already deeply understands the math of your field. You can use the calculator just for speed. But for people just starting out, trying to build value from zero, that over-reliance seems, well, pretty dangerous. Because they might skip building that essential foundation of skill and understanding altogether.
And that danger leads us right into the first big cost these sources flag, the cognitive impact. When we start delegating more and more of our mental work to AI, we're essentially doing something called cognitive offloading.
Cognitive offloading. Okay, so literally offloading our thinker. What does that actually do to our brains, our ability?
Right. Well, it seems to have some pretty significant effects on our core cognitive faculties. The sources point to some early studies that are starting to show a kind of worrying link. Higher AI usage seems correlated with potentially lower critical thinking skills. Think about it, right?
Yeah.
If AI gives you a polished answer straight away, you bypass the struggle, the hard work of analyzing, synthesizing, wrestling with the problem yourself. You kind of get stuck in this loop of just prompting and editing instead of genuine intellectual effort.
Huh.
He mentioned specific research like a University of Pennsylvania study
Yeah.
where students who lean heavily on AI for practice problems actually did worse on tests compared to those who didn't.
Wow. Okay, that feels counterintuitive. You'd think getting help would make you better.
You'd think. But it really seems like this struggle itself is key for embedding knowledge properly. And this also ties into memory and learning, real learning, the kind that builds deep, connected understanding. It often happens because you had to fight for the answer, To grasp a tricky concept, connect different ideas, if you just ask AI to summarize that difficult article or explain that complex theory, you skip the struggle. The information stays shallow. It's accessible via the AI, sure, but it's not truly yours, not embedded. Some researchers are even starting to call it metacognitive laziness.
Metacognitive laziness. Yeah, I can definitely see how easy that would be to slip into. Okay, and what about creativity? AI is meant to be this huge creative partner, right?
It can be, absolutely, but the sources definitely raise a flag here too. While AI is amazing at generating variations based on patterns it's learned from, like massive data sets, relying on it too heavily can lead to a kind of sameness, homogenization. If everyone's using the same popular models trained on similar data, you start seeing these recurring patterns, almost an AI look or an AI style across different outputs. It can lack that genuine spark of novelty, a truly unique viewpoint, or that, I don't know, that soul that comes from human experience, maybe even human imperfection and struggle. It generates, yes, but often derivatively.
That makes total sense. If the input data is largely the same, the output's bound to converge. Okay, speaking of things maybe lacking soul. Let's pivot to the second big cost the sources highlight. This explosion of scams and these super fragile business models all chasing the easy money AI seems to promise.
Yes, exactly. The sources really detail this rise in schemes that are essentially AI-powered scams, or at least very close to it. You see these faceless YouTube channel gurus popping up everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Selling expensive courses, promising you can make bank generating tons of content with AI. But what happens is the market gets flooded with low-quality generic stuff, and usually the only person making reliable money is the one selling the course on how to do it.
Right, the classic selling picks and shovels during a gold rush, only maybe the gold isn't real this time.
Precisely. Then you've got the AI crypto or trading bots.
Yeah.
Often these are just, old Ponzi or pyramid schemes with a shiny new AI label slapped on. They use the mystique of AI to promise completely unrealistic returns. The sources even mention AI being used to create fake CEO personas or clone voices to make these frauds seem more credible. It's getting wild.
Wow.
And don't forget the AI-powered dropshipping schemes, using AI to just instantly create these very superficial e-commerce sites. No real brand identity, non-existent customer service, no unique product.
It sounds like businesses that are just, well, wrappers, basically, like
Yeah.
thin layers built on top of somebody else's AI tech. One source specifically called it the AI wrapper problem.
Exactly that. And the sources are really clear on why these models are just fundamentally brittle. First off, there's absolutely no competitive moat, zero. If your whole business is just calling an API and putting a slightly different front end on it, anyone with basic tech skills can copy you in like a weekend.
Right. Easy come, easy go.
Totally. Second, you're completely, utterly dependent on those external platforms. The API provider.
Mm-hmm.
If they change their pricing model, change their terms of service, release a similar feature themselves, your entire business could just vanish
Mm-hmm.
overnight.
Ouch.
Fundamentally, these aren't businesses creating unique value. They're not solving real problems in a new way. They're just riding the hype wave. They're participants, not builders of anything lasting. And this really brings us to the core counter-argument running through all these sources. They argue pretty forcefully that true, long-term, durable value, it doesn't come from the external system, not the AI tool, the API, the platform. It comes from internal capabilities, human effort, human skill, human understanding. The focus has got to shift inward.
Yeah, that line from the YouTube source really hit home for me. They themselves are the gold. It talks about how people who consistently succeed, it's not just luck, it's because they've spent years building this ball of value, this accumulation of hard-won experience, learning from failures, understanding different fields deeply.
And that human depth, that's the ultimate differentiator. That's what gives you the real nuanced understanding of your market, what messaging actually works, what customers really need, beyond just a simple prompt. It's why business can eventually feel easy, but only after you've done the incredibly hard work of building that foundation inside yourself.
Right. If you just lean on the external tech all the time, you're never forced into the struggle, never challenged to think originally, solve problems creatively. You stay shallow. And the sources predict that the specific ways we deliver value, the business vehicles they might, change super fast in the AI era, maybe every few years. If that's true, the only thing that guarantees success isn't the specific tool you're using right now. It's you. You as the source of value.
Okay, so if the easy path is a trap, and the real value comes from this human depth, what's the solution? What's the way out? How do we use AI effectively without getting caught in that trap, without becoming superficial? Well, the good news is the sources aren't saying abandon AI altogether. Not at all. The consensus seems to be about sort of demoting AI, taking it off the pedestal as this magical solution and seeing it for what it really is, an incredibly powerful tool, but a tool that needs to be in the hands of skilled humans. The principles for building durable value in this new landscape, according to this material, they're actually pretty clear. First, and this is crucial, you absolutely must master the fundamentals of whatever you're doing before you try to automate it with AI.
Okay.
You need that deep domain expertise so you can actually judge the AI's output. Can you spot if it's subtly wrong? Can you tell if it missed a critical nuance? Do you even know if it's asking or answering the right question to begin with? AI can massively amplify your existing expertise, but it absolutely cannot substitute for it. No way.
So, like, if I'm using AI to help write marketing copy, I still need to really get what makes great copywriting great on my own. I can't just rely on it to know.
Precisely. Your understanding is the quality control. It's the director. The second principle, build on problems, not tools. Don't start with, ooh, I've got access to this cool new AI. What can I build? No. Start by identifying a real, painful problem that people actually have, a specific group. Then figure out if and how AI might be one part of the solution, integrated with human insight, human service, human understanding.
Got it. Problem first, tool second. Makes sense.
And third, relentlessly emphasize human hard work and skill. The sources really bang this trump. Easy is not valuable, hard is valuable.
Mm.
Think about the truly irreplaceable human skills, building genuine trust, real relationships, nuanced negotiation, that deep industry insight that sometimes feels like a gut feeling, taking personal accountability when things go wrong, and just the sheer grit needed to navigate complex, messy problems through trial, error, and learning. AI just can't do that stuff.
And it's interesting, one source mentioned this prediction may be a bit scary about potentially superhuman AI intelligence arriving as early as, what, 2027? Now, whether that specific prediction is accurate or not, the idea of it makes the need to consciously build our own internal knowledge and resilience feel even more urgent, right? Because if it becomes even easier to just outsource our thinking, we have to actively fight that pull, fight against what's easy.
Absolutely. And think about it. As AI-generated content becomes more and more common, maybe even generic,
Mm.
what becomes more valuable? The human element. Genuine connection, authentic storytelling, brands built on real depth and earned trust. That's likely to become exponentially more important. People buy from people. The sources seem convinced that's only going to become more true in an AI-saturated world, not less.
So, bringing this down to the listener, what does this all mean for you? Whether you're, prepping for a meeting, trying to learn a new skill, maybe building a business, these sources seem to offer a really clear takeaway.
Yeah, I think the core message is, when you find yourself using AI to help with something, make that conscious effort to also learn deeply about the task itself. Don't just take the output and run. Don't just edit superficially. If AI helps you write code, strive to understand the underlying programming principles. If it helps you draft a proposal, learn what makes a proposal truly compelling. That's how you build your internal value engine. That's how you avoid becoming just a passive operator, pushing buttons on someone else's machine.
So, to wrap this all up, it feels like the sources present this AI era trap as this powerful siren song, the song of effortlessness, promising rewards without the work, knowledge without the study, creativity without the messy struggle.
Exactly. But the key insight, the real thread running through all this material, is that the future, or at least the durable, valuable future, belongs to those who resist that temptation. It belongs to the people who choose to focus on the hard, sometimes messy, but deeply human work of building genuine skill, deep understanding, and real value. Using AI not to replace your intelligence and effort, but to powerfully augment it. That seems to be the path forward, the path to building something that actually lasts.
So, thinking about how fast AI is moving right now, here's maybe a final thought for you to chew on as you go about your day. What single fundamental human skill do you personally think will become the absolute most valuable asset you could cultivate in yourself over, say, just the next 2 or 3 years? Something AI can't easily replicate.
Yeah, and perhaps just reflect on your own relationship with AI currently. Are you mostly using it to kind of bypass the hard parts, to skip the
Yeah.
struggle of learning and doing? Or are you consciously using it to enhance your ability to really engage with those challenges, to get better, to go deeper? Something to think about.
Definitely a lot to consider there. Wow, what a deep dive.